Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. Members, I want to echo the comments made by my colleagues already with our concerns about this huge expansion of the voucher system in Florida. And I first just want to start off with, I'm a proud public school grad myself as well, like many folks in the space. I went to Orange County Public Schools K-12. I would not be where I am today or who I am today if it wasn't for my educators. It was my AP government teacher, Mr. Norris, in my senior year of high school, who actually reignited in me a love for politics and civic engagement. You can love him or hate him for that. But he really was a transformational person in my life, and still one of my biggest cheerleaders to this day. And unfortunately for him, he actually had to leave the public school system to teach at a private school just because of how difficult the pay was for him. And we're seeing that exodus of educators from the public schools right now. And it is due to issues like the over-politicization of our schools, like the low pay, like the workload. You know, there's been a protest in other states where teachers have just worked to what's in their contract and they can't even do half their job, right? So we need to do more, absolutely, to invest in our public schools to ensure that we are being able to have those transformational experiences like my teachers did for me back when I was in elementary, middle, and high school. And I'm really concerned, and I've spoken to the bill sponsor about this too, just what the impact of this policy can be, especially since I feel like the staff analysis kind of underestimates its financial impact. You've heard the examples from Arizona and others, just the huge influx of families who apply that don't even go to public schools today. They already go to private schools. And that's a huge cost on the public system. And it allows for families that don't even need the financial benefit to get the financial benefit. And I'm a firm believer in just targeted government support structures and really trying to ensure the money goes to the right place. And we saw the type of fraud with the PPP at a federal level, folks who got those funds who didn't need it. We got to make sure that any type of effort with public money has that accountability and is going to folks in a targeted, intentional way. I really appreciate the points about our kids with special needs. Again, we all know that in the public school system, fighting for IEPs is a real issue that we need to address. But this expansion, we've heard concerns from families with kids with special needs that it's not going to meet all of what their support programs are as well. And in fact, Florida has a huge wait list with the Agency for Persons with Disabilities. I would love to see this body help eliminate that wait list where we have adults and young people who die while waiting for services. And that's not okay. And so this prioritization where we'd rather privatize the public school system as a means to try to solve these problems versus invest where we know the problems exist doesn't sit well with me. And I asked some questions yesterday just about the curriculum because we do require a lot of our traditional public schools, a lot of requirements around how a building is structured and the safety of those buildings, lots of curriculum standards. This session, we're going to be debating a bunch of bills that impact traditional public schools, impact libraries, and so forth. And yet, when it comes to the private sector, we don't have any of those requirements. We don't put into place really much accountability at all. And we're talking about our tax dollars going into these institutions that I know they're called private schools, but some of them are pretty much set up to be publicly funded. And I want to highlight a comment made about, you know, the nonprofit that also manages these systems. I mean, this is almost like a monopoly structure in statute today. So where's the competition and even just the processing of the voucher system? These are all issues that I'm sure we're going to have to address in the future because we're not addressing them right now. I also just want to, again, speak to the issues around curriculum because I think it's important that we do teach some really basic elements of science, of history, and I'm concerned that's going to be left behind with the direction that we're going with this huge privatization. And again, I asked this question yesterday, Mr. Speaker, around just the potential for discrimination, especially with LGBTQ plus kids with disabilities, kids that maybe struggle in any educational environment because they don't have that parental support. I don't want to see kids get shuffled around, which can also be really interrupting to their educational experience. And I am concerned that when you have private schools that can pick and choose and public schools that really can't, we're kind of falling back into the years of segregation. It might not always be based on race, it can be based on something else, but I think that's also something we should be concerned about, because kids are much better when they get to be in diverse environments and learn from one another. I know that was a true blessing for me. I wonder if somebody were to open up a big woke school with this money, if y'all would have the same concerns that we do on accountability. If a private school was opened up where CRT was the emphasis of every element, and they had rainbows.
Members, be respectful of the debater, please. No finger snapping. Thank you.
Thank you so much, Mr. Speaker. I appreciate that. I don't know if people like rainbows in the back, I guess, but yeah, like I do wonder if if it went in that direction, if you wouldn't echo the points we're making, because I feel like that's the vibe when we talk about what's happening in our public schools compared to the private schools. It's actually perhaps a point that we all have similar concerns, just in different ideological categories. And so, with that said, let's find what we have in common. We all want to make sure our kids are healthy, safe, and strong, that they're going to be successful like everyone in this room. And I'm very concerned that the current structure we have in this mass privatization, that's not what we're doing, Mr. Speaker. And I don't want to come back here next session having to fix the problems that we're creating. And with that, I will yield the rest of my time. Thank you so much.